Rani Krishna managed to locate her nephew but was taken aback when Rahul Patel told her that he had no idea where her daughter had disappeared after her release from prison. Rani felt as if her nephew had poured a bucket of icy cold water on her head. Rahul explained that he had searched for Aphrodite Krishna Khan and Amrita Khan, and called as many places as he could to find out where she might be. He could not find any trace of her. No one of the Indians he knew in the city claimed to have seen her or knew anything about her. He said he had talked to Hindus as well as Muslims, but not a single person was able to positively ID her photo or was acquainted with her. It seemed she had left the city immediately following her release. Even the police had no idea where she went or where she was staying. Rani Krishna began to weep bitterly at the news and realized that her daughter's trail was now many months old. She began to worry about her daughter's ability to care for herself. She was like a child who always needed a babysitter or an adult to take care of her. It did not help that she had looks that would tempt a priest and heir to a huge fortune. She was simply put, an unwilling temptress to almost every male that fixed his eyes upon her. She could only assume that if her daughter was still alive, she would be somewhere in the city, held against her will by an unknown captor. The first thing she thought of was to lodge a missing persons report. The police would have to contend with a missing person who had not been seen for over a year and was being held in captivity. Rani asked her nephew to take her to the nearest police station to file a complaint against unknown suspects who allegedly kidnapped, imprisoned, and raped her defenseless daughter. At the police office, Rani supplied information to indicate that her daughter was childish and her mind wasn't fully developed. In her report, she stated that her daughter's mind stopped developing due to the brutal rape she was subjected to at an early age. When the police checked the records of her daughter's previous detention by local authorities, the interrogation revealed that her daughter was somewhat childish in her answers and remained confused, unable to give appropriate responses. It was for that very reason they appointed a state psychiatrist who determined that her earlier arrest may have violated the legal rights of an adult of limited mental capacity. Her daughter should have been appointed a legal representative and guardian upon these findings. As far as the law was concerned, detaining a mentally deficient person for over a month without proper medical and psychological tests being conducted was abusive and inhumane treatment, and she should not have been held without informing the next closet relative. The Special Task Force and local FBI unit, on the other hand, should not have allowed an intellectually challenged person to walk out of prison without ensuring that she was received by a guardian or caretaker. Therefore, Rani understood that the FBI could quite possibly be held liable for violating the civil rights of Aphrodite Krishna Khan. Rani Krishna's complaint turned the city upside down. Every police precinct was notified about the missing and likely murdered or kidnapped mentally retarded Indian girl. Aphrodite's photo was placed in every police station, building, storefront, government office, and mall in the city and state. Her photo was posted on every bus depot, railway station, and airport. All colleges and public, private school departments were notified and their staff. It was requested that anyone having knowledge of her should inform the authorities immediately. Her mother, Rani Krishna, offered a reward of $25,000 for anyone who would supply information of her whereabouts. After a citywide search, the FBI located the hiding place where the young mentally handicapped girl was being held captive by an individual. That person happened to be a Muslim man. He was a cabbie who emigrated from India to the United States with his Indian wife over 11 years ago. He was still married and had 3 children with his Indian wife. He also had fathered a girl with the mentally disabled girl. While the FBI had discovered the place where the intellectually challenged girl was being kept, they were cautious in staking out the residence to rescue the young girl so as not to alert her captor. They were afraid he might kill the young girl if he got wind they were onto him. Defying the FBI's request to keep silent, her mother appeared in a TV interview and revealed that her daughter was already a victim of 2 kidnaps and rapes. Firstly, she was kidnapped, imprisoned, and raped by an 80-year-old Saudi man. The old Saudi man kidnapped her at the tender age of 7 and imprisoned her in his house for 10 years. Whatever evil that wicked Arab man did to her daughter was justified by an Islamic Sharia court in Jeddah in the name of their religion, which allowed marriage of underage children. Secondly, the mother of the mentally delayed young woman mentioned that her daughter was also kidnapped, imprisoned, and raped by another evil Muslim man. He was a famous Bollywood film director. Her former kidnappers, captors, and rapists met with a violent end. One of them was murdered by another inmate while he was in remand waiting for his final trial for kidnapping and raping another young Indian girl who was just 11 years old. The second captor committed suicide in order to escape public scandal and imminent incarceration. At the end of the interview, the Indian mother demanded a severe punishment for the third kidnapper, captor, and rapist of her beloved daughter. What troubled Rani Krishna and made her extremely angry was the outrageous fact that the third kidnapper of her daughter happened to be meeting the same sort of description as her previous kidnappers. He was more or less like them in his religion, age, and social status. He was a Muslim man, a married man, had children, and he was 20 years older than her daughter. Everything about him made Rani hate him with a passion. In particular, his religious background made her despise him even more. Rani could not believe that a married man with 3 children would leave his wife and children to go with a girl old enough to be his daughter. Therefore, Rani said in front of the police that if the American courts did not issue a sentence of death upon him, she would take justice into her own hands and skin him alive. Among all 3 of her daughter's kidnappers, Rani Krishna discovered that the third one was the worst. He was the only one who succeeded in fully brainwashing her daughter. Her daughter actually loved the man. He made her believe that he was her Kais and she was his beloved Layla. It saddened her that Amrita had not stopped crying since she had been rescued. She begged and pleaded with her mother to intervene and save her lover from the police. She even told her mother that she would kill herself if her lover wasn't released and allowed to live with her the way they had been doing for over a year. The only other thing Rani could not deal with was the fact that he had fathered a child with her daughter. The child made it hard for Rahul Patel to accept her daughter for marriage. Nevertheless, he said that he was still prepared to marry Amrita although she was not a virgin, but he would not accept the baby girl, suggesting that the child be given up for adoption before they were married. Rahul said that he did not want to bring up someone's bastard child. Rani appreciated the great sacrifice that her nephew was prepared to make and so tried to convince her daughter to forsake her illegitimate daughter. Amrita became extremely furious when she heard that her cousin brother called her daughter a bastard child and her mother labeled her an illegitimate daughter. At this stage, she revealed a hidden secret that her detained husband had warned her from revealing to anyone. She challenged her cousin brother and mother and confessed that she had married her lover Jimmy according to the Islamic Sharia law. She even produced the marriage certificate that had been issued by the Imam of the mosque. Therefore, Amrita insisted Rahul and her mother apologize to her for calling her daughter a bastard child. This new development complicated the situation for Amrita instead of resolving it. Her mother immediately informed the police about the secret marriage of her daughter with her kidnapper. The police knew that the kidnapper had a Muslim wife and this new information meant he had another wife at the same time. It appeared that he was practicing Sharia law by having 2 wives in the USA. It was unlawful for any person to have more than 1 wife in America. Now the cops had one more charge to add to his list of crimes. The police found out that the kidnapper was taking money from his victim every month and giving it to his first wife. The bank records of Aphrodite's account showed a monthly transfer of $5,000 to the account of her kidnapper. The money would inevitably end up in the bank account of his first wife. Amrita's account activity also showed that she was spending heavily on her kidnapper. It was starting to look like a Stockholm Syndrome scenario. The police also noted that the kidnapper had ceased working and was entirely dependent upon his victim. Those new findings indicated that the captor was exploiting his victim financially and causing her to spend money on him and his other wife and children. Those new findings were summarily added to his increasingly long rap sheet.